Okay, hello. So I'm PG Myers. I run a blog called Pharyngula over on the Freethoughtblogs network. And one of the things I thought I would try to do this summer is bring on some of my fellow bloggers and have them introduce themselves and tell me a little bit about what they write about, what they do, what they've been doing, why are we here, existential questions, that sort of thing. And first one up is right here, William Brinkman, who's going to tell us all about what he's been doing. And you should give us a URL and things like that.
Sure. Okay. My name is William Brinkman. I write the Book Babbler, which is a satirical blog network. Just network the camera. My network blog, which is part of joined Freethoughtblogs in January. I made the first blog post for the Babbler in 1998, and at the time I was thinking, I lived in Bolingbrook, Illinois at the time, and I wondered what it'd be like if Bolingbrook had a tabloid, kind of like Weekly World News. So I kind of wrote as a cross between the Weekly World News and the Onion. And the first post was 1998, and since it was the 90s, I did one post a month. And it ran from, the first incarnation ran from 1998 to 2001. And pretty much I gained a fairly large following for that time. And then I decided to retire it. And then I restarted in 2007, and it's been running ever since. And this month will be the 10th anniversary of the relaunch. And like I said, it's a satirical blog, which I still consider a cross between the Onion and the Weekly World News. It is set in Bolingbrook, Illinois. And according to the writers of the Babbler, Bolingbrook, Illinois is the home of the world's largest urban UFO base. And it also has a population of shapeshifters called weredeer, which are kind of like, I guess, MRAs nowadays. But through the blog, I pretty much use it to make humorous commentary about current events, as well as Bolingbrook events. And over the years, I've added sister publications, so if I get tired of using Bolingbrook as a setting, I can write an article based in Canada or in the UK. And let's see. I just want to say I really enjoy writing a Freethoughtblog because I'm a firm believer in social justice and progressive politics. And, well, hi, AJ. And I would say moving to Freethoughtblog has been a real renaissance for the Babbler. And let's see. Yeah. And so this is the time, if you want to learn about the long history and some plot points, this is the time to start reading it again. It's at freethoughtblogs.com/Babbler.
Okay, very good.
Thanks.
So you've got one of the few blogs that's older than mine.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I started in 2002.
Okay.
And initially it was pharyngula.org on my own personal lab server, and then I migrated over to science blogs. And then when that place got weird, and it's still kind of weird, we moved on to Freethoughtblogs. Me and Ed Brayton set this up. And now we're trying to bring in all these people. We set it up with the explicit goal that we were going to bring in a diverse audience. We're going to bring in different kinds of bloggers. And here we are with three white guys. But
yeah,
it happens. It happens. It's okay. Anyway, so thanks for joining us, and thanks for telling us about your blog. And also in the middle there, H.J. Hornbeck chimed in. As I told William, what we're just doing here was just introducing ourselves and saying a few words about our blog and what we've done and all that kind of stuff. And so I will turn it over to you right now.
Oh, cool. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, now be exciting. Come on.
Be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, because that's the other thing we need on YouTube is another amazing atheist hanging out. That's so great. Yeah. Right. So, I am a newcomer actually to Freethoughtblogs. I mean, I forget myself for when I actually first commented on there. I think I was on science blogs back in 2007 or something like that. It's like my first comment. Hanging around a long time as just a lurker. Finally, at long last, after a little bit of training blogging over at Semantics with M.A. Melby, awesome gal, by the way, I was like, okay, might as well submit over here. I've always wanted to do it, so I submitted, and apparently I was not rejected, so I'm quite happy with that. What do I blog about? Pretty much anything. I am a computer scientist by trade, but if you look at a lot of my blog posts, almost everything is about statistics or feminism or something like that. I just cover a wide range of topics. Lately, I've been on that whole Bayesian-Lindsay kick. So I've actually got 2 recent posts on that. One basically just sort of pointing out that their attempts to falsify gender studies don't really work. The other one actually is just delving into a gender studies journal and what exactly is in there. I mean, can anyone actually tell me what's inside a gender studies journal? I doubt it. So I actually crack open the table of contents and start sharing what's inside. Yep. Let's see, statistics stuff. I'm actually working on something related to p-values, and it's sort of an interesting observation I made a while ago back on semantics. I spotted a peer-reviewed paper that pointed out that if your p-value does not hit 0.05 or less, there's approximately a 60% chance your paper will get rejected or filed out of the way. I actually was able to confirm that independently by using data from Google Scholar. But I just recently realized there's another data set out there that I could use to handle that. The Cochrane collaboration has just a whole ton of meta-analyses with high-quality data sets to look at. And it's just out there for the picking once I sort of figure out how to parse it. So I'm going to try delving into that one and seeing what I can learn on just how these values are distributed within science itself.
Okay, yeah. P-values are really problematic for me. So I'm teaching a genetics course, and of course there's a lot of statistics there and a lot of probability, and I have to explain this stuff to them. And one of the things I try hard to drill into the students is not a magic number, right? It doesn't automatically mean it's true. And we do these really simple exercises where, for instance, we flip coins and generate a data set, and with small numbers, you get all kinds of variation there. And you can even do, every class, you flip coins 100 times, you do the statistics on the simple chi-square test, look at the p-value, and wow, there's students who got statistically significant differences in the proportion of heads and tails. And the whole point is, yeah, just calm down. It doesn't mean you get to get published in Science now.
Yeah, it's exactly. The p-value does not say what you mean it to. There's a couple of interesting studies where they actually sat down with scientists and said, hey, what do you think a p-value means? Something like 60 to 80% of it got it wrong. Even within the sciences, there is a huge misunderstanding of what p-values are. And you can kind of drive it to anywhere. One of my recent blog posts was on Daryl Bem. It's not widely acknowledged, but his paper on precognition actually sort of kicked off the most recent replication crisis. And a lot of it was just basically taking very small sizes, but because he had such a huge sample set, the p-value was significant.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my old graduate advisor, he goes back and forth on this, and last time I saw him, he flat out said, if your paper requires statistics, it's wrong. Which is maybe a little too far. But at the same time, you can sort of see his point that if you've got some value, some property that's incredibly hard to measure, and you need to do 10,000 things and do all these elaborate statistics to get a magic number out of it, you're missing the forest for the trees. What you need to do is look at your data and ask, what is it actually showing?
Exactly. There's a push for effect sizes to be sort of the main thing within science now. And yeah, it's okay. But I mean, it's still it doesn't solve some of these other fundamental problems within how this data is presented.
Right. Yeah, like when I was doing physiology, there you do need huge numbers of samples there. You know, you lower an electrode into a neuron and you get it firing. And what you do is you superimpose all the, for instance, all the action potentials on each other and average them together to get some picture of what's going on. And that's a legitimate use of statistics. That's fine. You know, you're compensating for noise. You're extracting a signal. In my case, in my thesis, I only used statistics once, which was we'd identified these neurons in the spinal cord. So we actually mapped out their locations. And then I did some simple statistics just to show that the distribution of the neurons correlates with segment lengths. So we could actually say these are segmental. But the core of the story was not those statistics. It was, here's a photograph. Look, you can see this cell.
It's kind of a high quality evidence, yeah.
Yeah. That's, you know, if it's crystal clear like that, that's always good.
Yeah, and I'm actually dealing with something similar with my thesis. I'm dealing with data sets. I think I've currently got about 80 to 90,000 data sets. I haven't done a firm count on it. Each of which contains something like 50 data points, which I'm then basically plumbing. It's like a 10-dimensional data set, which I'm then plumbing with Bayesian statistics to try and fit to a model and see what I can learn about, you know, how good my code is running. It's complicated.
Yeah, no. My thesis, I'm trying to think, how many cells did we observe? We probably observed about 100 cells. You know, they were very consistent. There weren't exceptions, so it was not troubling at all that we only had that small number. And it's since been replicated over and over again. So no replication crisis for my thesis. They're not going to retract it yet. So we're doing good.
That's sort of the underappreciated thing from the replication crisis too. It doesn't mean that these papers are false. It means that you can't replicate them. There's a difference between that. You know, if your study's power, the ability to actually find an effect is, you know, less than 50%, then that means that there's a greater than 50% chance it won't replicate, even if you had a true positive in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you look across a lot of psychology, a lot of the power levels are around 30 to 40%. So it was kind of a hilarious thing when that giant 2015 study came out that showed that, you know, oh, maybe only 30 to 40% of all papers replicated. Well, yeah, if the power level is 30 to 40, that's precisely what you expect if science was working as it is.
You mean they verified the statistics were accurate?
More or less, yeah. Yeah, science really is as shitty as we thought it was. Yay. Sorry, statistics within science, I should say.
Yeah, well, statistics within science are really useful as long as you know what you're doing and as long as you interpret things appropriately. And the problem is that so many people fail to interpret them reasonably.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've been scribbling up things too. So I wrote a few things about the Bogosian and Lindsay paper. It sucks. It's terrible. Yeah, you know, I do not routinely read gender studies issues. I'm sorry, but I do know some gender studies academics, and I respect their work. They're, you know, if I talk to them about the things I study, they would kind of eyes glaze over, wouldn't know what the heck I was talking about. And it's the same with them. And that does not mean that they are stupid or that I am stupid. Unless you've got an axe to grind and you're just trying to find some kind of evidence in your own ignorance that somebody else is wrong, which is just disgraceful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It really looks like it was fully sort of like they totally had an axe to grind right from the get-go. I think Lindsay has sort of walked back from it a little bit and said that it was essentially satire, which, okay, satire of what?
Yeah.
I literally have this blog series where I crack open the table of contents, and everything they say about what these gender studies papers is not playing out. You know, one of the things was actually a keynote given by somebody who was basically pointing out, hey, you tend to view the South as sort of ignorant and a bastion of anti-feminism and all that. it turns out there actually is some form of resistance there. It's just, it's a little bit culturally different. So it doesn't necessarily mesh with what you think of as resistance. There's also some good stuff related to the gender pay gap. They actually used a mix of both quantitative stuff as well as qualitative, where they would actually sit down, interview people, and then code up those responses. And, you know, from that actually sort of get, okay, here's some qualitative things we can say about what people say, you know, within these sets. Of course, they also captured numbers too, like, you know, what was your income, how does this work out, boom. So it's a really nice sort of mix of, you know, the soft stuff as well as more harder statistics. It's much more rigorous than anything I've seen suggested by Bogasian or Lindsay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I wrote recently is everyone saw the paper about how lesbianism has evolved. Yeah. And you know, the thing is, that's a case where I can say on the basis of their intrusion upon my discipline that they're wrong. They don't understand evolutionary biology. And yet these same people who are all over gender studies will ferociously denounce anyone who criticizes evolutionary psychology.
Yeah.
And evolutionary psychology is built on this entire premise that everything evolved by natural selection, therefore you can infer selective events in the history of organisms just by looking at their current properties. And it's not true. It's not true at all. But no, they can get published and they can claim, oh, this is hard science. And it's not. It's far more bogus than anything in gender studies.
Agreed. And it's weird. I mean, sorry, go ahead, Wayne.
Okay, they're just trying to shoot everything
That was very strange. You're sounding like an alien. There's some weird feedback going on.
Kind of robotic. Do you have like flashcards you could hold up or something? That'd be great. The Google Hangout via flashcards.
That would slow things down.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there's something funny with your audio, but
good. Hopefully it's not mine. Yeah, no, it's weird. I mean, as a computer scientist, there's really not a lot I can speak on with authority. You know, some mathematical stuff. You know, that's basically it. That's the expertise here. You know, some of the more academic stuff I've looked at is like, you know, locking, for instance. How do you lock a specific resource to make sure nobody else has access to it? So I don't really have a lot of practical experience when someone comes up with, you know, hey, here's something in evolution. It's like, it's not my area of expertise. Yeah. What's fascinating, though, is evolutionary psychology does claim to talk about computation. If you look at their things, they actually invoke computation and computing devices when trying to discuss the brain. And they have this idea that the ideas from computer science map onto the brain itself. They'll talk frequently about mind modules, you know, and how these things sort of have evolved within the brain itself. And theoretically, that's possible. But if you've actually done any academic computer science work, you know that, okay, that's a possibility, but that's not what really happens. And if you look at a little bit into AI at all, you see that that's really not how these systems behave in the slightest.
Yeah, and also if you do neuroscience, my side of the story, you discover that that's not how things work either. Oh, no. It's a classic example of people inventing what they think is a useful metaphor and then interpreting all the data in terms of that metaphor. So modules, that simplifies the problem. It makes it discrete and it makes little chunks that you think you can pull out and study and figure out. But if that's not the way it's really organized, then you're just misleading yourself at every step.
Yeah, so. And they'll talk about the blank slate, for instance, where, you know, oh, hey, you know, this is not completely the case at all. There's stuff already pre-built in there. If you look in computer science, when we build, you know, artificial intelligence and neural nets, we start from a blank slate. There is absolutely nothing in there. We have sort of a training, you know, situation that we throw in and, you know, a training metric. There is nothing there. If you're going to take inspiration from computers, then that kind of gives you solid evidence that no, human beings pretty much start off as a blank slate.
Well, we do have predispositions. We're not totally blank.
Maybe. I mean, you would know better than me, but
Well, there are reflexes and things like this, but yeah, I think we are pretty plastic. So, William, is your audio working now? Uh-oh.
well, that's not robotic.
It's silent. No sound coming through.
Ugh.
Quick, learn ASL.
Oh, I should. Yeah. All right.
Okay, well, he works on that, and feel free to interrupt anytime. I'll also mention the other thing I was writing about this week that's kind of relevant is cancer biology.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Paul Davies came out with this really ludicrous theory that it's all atavisms and that what cancers are basically they're little protozoans that are reemerging in your genome and swarming and doing things that a protozoan would do. It's complete nonsense. I mean, that's just not the way evolution works. He's a guy who even cites Haeckel approvingly as justifying his model of how cancer works.
And isn't he a physicist? Paul
Davies, yeah, he's a cosmologist.
Mm.
Yeah, he works out of Arizona. He's got, what is it, his Origin of Life or something foundation. He gets a lot of Templeton money.
Yeah.
Yeah, he writes strange books arguing for a purpose in the galaxy or whatever. Not too impressed. But apparently he gets lots of grant money for this stuff. I should sell out.
I wish I could sell out. I don't think I'm at that stage yet. I'm not big enough to sell out.
Oh.
Give me another 5 years and then I'll be in a place where I can sell out.
That's right. Yes. Get that degree and then you can sell yourself for a higher price, which is what we're all doing. The other thing I wrote about on cancer was this quack. Actually, a whole bunch of quacks, lots of quacks argue this about how you can cure cancer with a ketogenic diet. His website is called something like, what was it? Single cause, single cure for cancer. Oh no is right. Yeah. Dangerous, stupid stuff. You know, it's starting with the Warburg effect, and you know this observation that cancer cells rely almost exclusively on glycolysis and don't carry out the deeper parts of metabolism that bring up more ATP. So superficially, it sounds like, oh, they're really inefficient. But the thing is, you can churn through the glycolysis pathway so much faster. It's less efficient in extracting ATP from glucose, but as long as you got lots of glucose and lactic acid around, which the body provides, you can milk it pretty good. And so cancers are not suffering for that reason. They're suffering for a lot of other reasons, like induced mutations and increased rates of failure and just aberrant pathways all over the place. So those inefficiencies kill them. But you're not going to cure it with just diet. Yeah, although there are some really interesting observations where, yeah, the ketogenic diet does help it helps some cancers, helps defeat some cancers because it makes them more susceptible to reactive oxygen species and also to things like radiation. So there's lots of things we can try, but it's not a magic bullet. Sorry.
No, and there never can be. Cancer is not one disease. As you know, the little bit of biology I've taken is sunk in.
Yeah. So anyway, that's been occupying me lately because I don't know. I go in these stages where something annoys me and then I start scribbling about it.
Oh God.
Yes.
Yeah. When it comes to blogging, I have like the attention span of a cat. More like than not, I'll sit down and to write something and then write something completely different and publish that.
Yeah. It works.
Yeah.
Okay, William, how is it going?
Off camera, apparently. Poor Will.
Oh, no, we're not hearing the thing. It's still not working. Huh. Let me check.
Double check you haven't got him muted from here.
I'm checking, yeah. Okay, there. I just intentionally muted him. And, oh, that's interesting. You know, it's not letting me unmute him.
What? Google does not like him, apparently.
There, no, that's working. Now try it. Say something. Okay. After this, I will dub in something from a Donald Duck cartoon over your voice.
That's maybe just like record something on a video and hold it up to the screen or something.
Okay, well, we'll be doing this again in the future, so we'll iron out these little bugs eventually. At least you got to say a few things at the beginning.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so why don't we stop there? This is a good place to stop.
Yeah.
Because again, the idea is just let's give people an introduction and not bore them with 2-hour-long chats.
Yes.
And I think this is a good timely thing. So good work. Keep blogging.
Yep.
I will post this with a link to you two guys, and then we're actually planning to do this again this evening. So we'll try to get a few more people on.
That I shall, yes.
Okay, it's been fun. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Talk to you later.